Tutorial is going to show you how to take something that you drew on paper, put it in Photopea, and manipulate it, color it, do all that cool stuff. So I'm going to start with my 300 dpi and my 10 inches by 10 inches. Again, that's the canvas for our book, so that's kind of where I'm always going to be working, so I know what my images are going to look like. I'm going to hit create, and then I'm going to get that blank canvas. I'm going to unlock my background, and then I'm going to go to, let's see, File, New and Open and Place. So I have my drawing here on my laptop that I took a picture of, and I'm going to open it right here. And let's see what we got. Cool. So I just drew this kind of Thor. I'm not sure what kind of Thor this is. Maybe Ragnarok Thor. I don't know. He's not awesome, but I drew him in a few minutes just for the purposes of this assignment. So now what I need to do is I need to clean him up. So I am going to be clicked on his layer. Let's actually just name him Thor. We don't really have to do a lot of layers on this one, but see, if we use the crop tool, though, to crop all this out, it's going to crop the whole image. So we don't want to use the crop tool. We're actually going to use a lasso tool. So underneath your square, rectangle select here at the top, there are a couple different lasso tools. I like to use the polygonal lasso select tool. So what this is going to do is it's basically going to lasso or surround an area of the picture. So if I click and then drag my cursor, then click, I'm dropping like a little anchor point every time I click. And then once I surround the area, it'll have the little marching ants, and then I hit my delete button. Oops. First I have to right click and rasterize that layer. And now when I click delete, that layer is going to be gone. So what I'm going to do here real quick is and I hit Command D to get rid of it. I'm just going to go around and I'm going to kind of lasso out the background of this photograph real quick. So I'm just going to go here, oops, delete, grab that little guy there, delete. You can be pretty sloppy with this because we're going to be removing some other stuff in a minute or two. This is basically just to get rid of that background of the desktop. So I'm going to zoom in. Now, because I drew his arms off the page, that is going to cause some problems for me, which I'll discuss here in a minute, because probably shouldn't have left him off the page. That might cause some problems for coloring. All right. And then if you notice, we also are going to need to remove part of the background in the actual picture. So the white paper, that's not part of Thor's body. We're going to take that out as well. But first let me get all of this stuff. Again, if we use the crop tool, then we're going to actually end up cropping the whole image, and we don't want to do that. So this is a quick way to select these areas and delete them quickly. Lasso tools are very, very, very helpful. Also, we'll show the magic wand here in a second, but the magic wand doesn't exactly get everything that we need it to get. Okay, so I've got Thor here on my white paper, but if you'll notice, it's not white like the white is on the canvas. So I'm going to come over here first, and I'm going to use the magic wand tool, which looks like a magic wand. I'm going to select this area of white on the background, and I'm going to delete that. Okay, so the magic wand will basically select the same color on the page and will delete it. So that did a pretty good job. I'm going to zoom in and select this area behind his arm. I need to select this area here. It's not 100% perfect, but it does a pretty good job, especially if you're working on like a solid color that is consistent. Notice it didn't grab everything there, so I could keep zooming in and using the wand that way, or I could use the lasso tool. Okay, so for the most part, we got to get this area over here. For the most part, we've got Thor kind of where we want him for right now. I'm going to lasso this guy here. And you want to get rid of as much of this stuff as possible. So you want as clean an image as you can get. All right, so the one problem I foresee is when I start to color Thor, the fact that his arms aren't closed off here is going to cause a problem for sure. But there is a little workaround for that. So I originally drew him off the page, but he's not exactly off my canvas here. So I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Transform, and I'm going to go to Scale, and I'm going to hold down my Alt key, and I'm going to scale Thor up as big as I can and see if I can get him to the edges of this canvas, which I can't. So I think what we are going to do is go ahead and crop this image down a little bit, okay? Because I don't want to run into problems with painting off the canvas. So I'm going to crop it down so that I get Thor right back here, okay? This should help solve that problem. All right, so here he is. I drew him in pencil and then I went over him in Sharpie. You could still see some pencil lines that are on here, which isn't going to be that big of a deal. We're going to try to erase as many of those as we can. Whoops, what did I do? I don't want that. What is that? Oops, don't do that. What the heck? Sorry, I have no idea what the shape is or why. Oh, because I'm on the background layer, that's why. That's why. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so we got to recrop him again. So crop him in, crop him in. Okay, so that should be good to go. Okay, so like I was saying, there are some pencil lines in here. We're going to try to get rid of some of those. So I'm going to go back to my magic wand tool, and I'm going to try to. Yeah, that's not really going to work the way I want it to. Okay. Notice if you really zoom in, you'll start to see like pieces of the background that the magic wand didn't get originally. Again, if you see those, you're going to want to clean them up as much as you can with the lasso tool. So depending on how you draw your drawing or what you draw it on, you are going to get some imperfections on there. And if you're super specific about stuff, you know, it could be a little bit of cleanup for you. The other thing you could do if you wanted to was to use the eraser tool, which you could go in and erase those pencil lines. And even if you made some Sharpie errors, right, like you can always erase those too. So we can erase it like that. We can erase it like that. If we want to make this line a little bit skinnier, right, we can always erase a little bit of that, no big deal. We could do that. Here's a little, whoops, there's a little shmoo right here we could get rid of. So you could do some touch-ups in Photopea with your magic wand, with your lasso, or with your eraser tool. But let's get into coloring. Now you guys have already done a coloring activity previously using the eyedropper and the paint bucket tool, right? So we're going to kind of do the same thing here. We're going to go out, we're going to Google, let's see, Thor. Thor color palette. There we go. All right, so this is some Thor stuff from. Ooh, this is cool. I like this. All right, so I like this one because it actually gives you some different shades. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this image, and then I'm going to go back to Photopea, and I'm going to paste it right in here. just big enough so that I can use my eyedropper tool. All right, so let's do his hair first. So I'm gonna go grab my eyedropper tool, which is under my crop tool. And let's go here and select his hair. Now remember, we're on layer 1. We're going to make sure that, so layer 1 is now the color palette, so we can do that colors. So we always got to make sure that we're on the Thor layer, and we're going to grab that color palette, and then we're going to grab our paint bucket, and then we are going to paint in Thor's hair. Cool. So if I did a good job, and if I closed off all my lines with my Sharpie, then I should get a mostly filled space. So we're going to do, let's do his beard and his eyebrows, maybe a little bit darker. So let's go back to that eyedropper tool, select that darker color. Let's see what that looks like on Thor. So go back here, actually. Oh, I forgot to switch. So let's go back here, paint bucket. All right, I think I like that a little bit better. So let's paint in his mustache. Let's paint in his eyebrow. All right, so you notice that that pencil line right there kind of closed that space off and it didn't paint in the whole area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my brush tool, and then I'm going to go kind of small on my brush tool. Go a little bit bigger. And I'm going to brush in that area right there. Okay. So between the paint bucket and the brush tool, I can make sure that I've got all of his hair filled in nice and neat. And again, even if I go over some of that black Sharpie, it's no big deal, as long as you don't go too crazy, right? So that's how we can, select a color palette and then start to paint in our character. But the black lines don't look super solid black. So I'm going to go back here to our, color palettes. There's not really a black on there. So I'm going to just go over to my colors. I'm going to select a black, select my paint bucket. I'm going to make sure I'm on Thor. And I'm going to paint bucket the line. Whoopsies. Switch my color. There we go. Paint bucket that line. There we go. So what that's going to do is it's going to paint bucket all the lines that are connected to each other and make them a nice dark black color. So I'm going to go around and just kind of paint in all of the black Sharpies so that they're all the same black color and it stands out a lot more. And that's kind of it. Like, you guys kind of know the rest of the tricks. I'm going to color in the rest of his mouth black. Again, if you get that little line there, then I would just shift over to the paintbrush and just kind of paint over that line. All right, then we're going to paint in a tongue. Go a little bit pinker. Something like that. Go ahead and fill that in. And then again, it leaves that line when you fill it in. But I'd rather fill it and then just paint a little bit of it than to, have to paint the whole tongue area. All right, so that is how to import your drawing and do a couple of cleanups and then start painting and having some fun.